This BAFTA situation is insane. So BAFTA stands for the British Academy Film Awards. It's basically the British Oscars. And Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were up on the stage when John Davidson, a man from the audience with Tourette's syndrome, shouted the N-word. And you guessed it, like an episode of The Price is Right, it was the hard R. Here's a video of it.
Good evening. Delroy and I are delighted to be presenting the first BAFTA of the night for a vital part of movie making.
Obviously I censored it, but he did indeed say it. And you can imagine the internet lost their minds. Lots of people had lots of opinions.
Let's talk about the BAFTAs situation. And before I go into this any more, I want to get this out of the way. Shut up, bitch! First, tics are not whatsoever what you are thinking, feeling, and they do not reveal anything about who you are as a person. I have so many people making negative judgments about me and my character, as well as my mutuals and friends, based off of what type of tics that we have. They are always saying that, oh, you just want to say these things and get away with it by saying that you have tics as an excuse. That is not the case at all. I have struggled heavily to not isolate myself. And I have also struggled heavily to stay here on this earth because my tics have caused so many problems for me. We cannot leave the house without preparing for the reality that we may be judged, misunderstood, or worse, confronted in a violent way or an aggressive way about our tics. So yes, it is a tragedy for both parties that John Davidson had that tic. I feel terrible that Michael Jordan and Delroy Lindo had such a disgusting word shouted at them during a moment that is supposed to be one of the happiest of someone's life. But I also feel terrible for John Davidson that he has to shut up. Live with having that word as a tic. Having tics already makes it so that you will be misunderstood and judged your whole life. But having slurs as tics, as I would know, just adds on to that.
Okay, now I have quite a bit to say, but let's just hear what this next lady has to say first, and then I'll just give my opinion.
Because this is a very unique situation. To my understanding, during the BAFTA Awards, Tourette's advocate John Davidson blurted out a racial slur while Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were on stage presenting. A lot of people were wondering why he had that particular tic. Now, I am in no way an expert on Tourette's, but it reminded me of an interview that I did with someone who has Tourette's, and they said that sometimes these involuntary tics come from either thoughts you repress or subconscious thoughts. It could be as simple as seeing someone who is bald and blurting out that you're bald. I am in no way excusing that at the sight of two black men that is the word that came out. But something else that I remembered is that tics can create horribly embarrassing situations for the person that has Tourette's. With that said, we can hold space for that while also holding space for how horribly embarrassing it is while you are on stage and you are an esteemed actor to be called a racial slur in front of all your peers, to be broadcasted internationally. And both Delroy and Michael B. Jordan are grown men who I'm sure have their own traumatic experiences being called that word. What's missing is unless you have been called a racial slur, you don't understand how demeaning and dehumanizing it is. And I can only imagine what it would feel like for that to happen on an international stage.
Okay, now we kind of got two contradictory point of views. One lady was saying that it's something that's probably in your subconscious that happens and you just blurt it out, while the other lady was saying it's not even something that's in your mind, it's just something that happens. But I think the key takeaway from both points that were very similar is that it's embarrassing for both the person it's happening to and the people that are affected around them by the tics. Apparently at the BAFTA Awards, they placed the mic sort of close to him, which I think is the first thing they did that just wasn't the best. Another thing apparently is that the BAFTA was streamed and it had a 2-hour delay, and there were other tics that happened in that time frame, but they cut out the other tics and left this one in. Why? I have no idea. The fact that they had a 2-hour delay and they still chose to keep it in, knowing it would offend a lot of people, is kind of crazy. I can't lie. That's kind of crazy. Obviously, the people who are saying to like that he should have never been at the award ceremony that's a bit much. Just because he has a disability doesn't mean he should not be able to attend an award show, but a mic probably shouldn't be placed that close towards him. This is what Jamie Foxx had to say about it. Out of all the words you could have said, Tourette's makes you say that? Nah, he meant that. Unacceptable. Obviously, I don't agree with this. To me, it seems like if he was just being racist, he would have just said it with his chest. Because whether or not you meant to say the word on live television, you are on live television and you're gonna get backlash anyways. So if he was like trying to say that, I felt he wouldn't have like fabricated a story. So I definitely don't think this is fake. And I do think it was involuntary. Now, does that mean mistakes weren't made? Of course not. This is what he said after the event was like already over. I wanted to thank BAFTA and everyone involved in the awards last night for their support and understanding and inviting me to attend the broadcast. I appreciated the announcement to the auditorium in advance of the recording, warning everyone that my tics are involuntary and are not a reflection of my personal beliefs. I was heartened by the round of the applause that followed this announcement and felt welcomed and understood in an environment that would normally be impossible for me. In addition to the announcement by Alan Cumming, the BBC, and BAFTA, I can only add that I am and always have been deeply mortified if anyone considers my involuntary tics to be intentional or to carry any meaning. I was in attendance to celebrate the film of my life, I swear, which more than any film or documentary explains the origins, conditions, traits, and manifestation of Tourette's syndrome. I've spent my life trying to support and empower the Tourette's community and to teach empathy, kindness, and understanding from others, and I will continue to do so. I chose to leave the auditorium early into the ceremony as I was aware of the distress my tics were causing. Honestly, to me, it seems like you can't hate on the guy. This is better than a lot of apologies I've seen. It doesn't seem like he's like a racist guy, and I think a lot of this falls on BAFTA for allowing like this to happen. But the internet is going to do what the internet does, and people are going to be very upset, and honestly, I hope it's directed mostly towards BAFTA, because from what I get, I could be totally wrong and the guy could be racist. But what I'm getting from this is that he's not. Now, for Michael B. Jordan, that must suck. To have like a movie do really well, like just a while ago, to come on this stage and present this award, and then to have that happen to you, getting the crash out would have been valid. Well, him like not knowing the guy had Tourette's, obviously, while he was up there. The crash out would have been valid. But honestly, he did the right thing to not even react, really, because that would have escalated the situation if he had, like, addressed it right then and there. Nah, but this whole situation is crazy, gang. Do you think he deserves the backlash? Let me know.